Marcos earns $108,000 a year. On paper, that puts him well above average. He lives in a modern city, has a solid career, and a respectable job title that signals success. From the outside, everything looks right. But after taxes, rent, transportation, food, subscriptions, and the basic cost of existing where he lives, he saves less than $300 a month. Some months, nothing at all. He works hard, he's consistent, he does what he was told to do, but every month feels tight, every raise disappears, and every year feels heavier instead of freer. Now look at Daniel. Daniel earns $82,000 a year, has the same experience, the same skills, and the same type of job, but he lives somewhere else, pays far less, creating the same life, and saves over $1,700 every single month without budgeting harder, investing better, or working longer hours. Same effort, same intelligence, same ambition. One of them is quietly building wealth and optionality. The other is exhausted, constantly busy, and financially frozen, despite earning more. This isn't about discipline or bad habits, it isn't about motivation or financial knowledge, and it definitely isn't about intelligence. It's about a structural cost most people never calculate, a hidden system that decides how far your income actually goes before you ever touch a spreadsheet. Marcos is not irresponsible. He pays every bill on time, keeps his credit clean, and avoids obvious mistakes. There are no wild purchases, no luxury addiction, no gambling, no chaos. He follows the rules exactly as he learned them. Work hard, stay consistent, don't overspend, don't fall behind. And from the outside, it looks like discipline. Every month, the numbers repeat. Salary arrives, expenses leave, the balance survives, but never grows. It feels stable, controlled, almost safe. But stability is not progress, and Marcos feels that difference quietly every single month. Nothing breaks, nothing collapses, nothing improves. He earns more than he did years ago, yet the pressure feels heavier, not lighter. Each raise disappears before it ever changes his life. At first, he tells himself this is temporary. Then he calls it normal, and eventually he stops expecting anything different. Marcos is doing everything right, and that is exactly what makes the situation confusing, because effort keeps increasing, but freedom never arrives. Now compare Marcos to someone else. Not smarter, not luckier, not more talented, just standing in a different position. Lucas earns $82,000 a year. $26,000 less than Marcos. Same age, similar education, similar experience. But Lucas lives where costs are lower. His rent is smaller, his taxes are lighter, and daily expenses don't consume his future. At the end of each month, Lucas saves $1,400. Marcos saves less than $300, sometimes nothing at all. That difference looks small at first, just a few $100s on paper, easy to ignore in the short term. But money doesn't move linearly. It compounds, accelerates, multiplies. Time turns small gaps into massive outcomes. After 5 years, Lucas has over $90,000 saved. Marcos has barely crossed $15,000, despite earning far more. After 10 years, the gap becomes impossible to ignore. One is building options, flexibility, leverage. The other is still surviving inside the same routine. Nothing magical happened, no risky investments, no secret strategies, just a different structure underneath the same effort. This isn't a spending problem, not a discipline problem, not an income problem. It is a structural imbalance, and Marcos is trapped inside it without realizing. This is where most people get it wrong. They assume the problem is spending, discipline, or bad decisions. But Marcos doesn't have a behavior problem. He has a structural problem, because his money doesn't arrive as freedom. It arrives already assigned. Before Marcos even opens his bank app, taxes take their share, housing takes the next cut, transportation, food, subscriptions quietly finish the job. His income flows in like a strong river, but the riverbed is full of holes, and the water leaks out before it can ever collect. Nothing here feels extreme. Each expense makes sense on its own. Rent is reasonable, the car is necessary, the location is strategic. That's the trap. When costs are fragmented, the brain never feels loss, it only feels routine.
Marcos doesn't experience poverty. He experiences normalization, a life where high income supports high costs and nothing else. The system rewards this behavior. High earners who spend everything are predictable. They work, earn, consume, repeat. From the outside, Marcos looks successful. From the inside, he's running a machine that cannot stop. One interruption is enough to expose the fragility underneath. This isn't about effort, it's about flow versus storage, and Marcos is stuck processing money instead of accumulating it. This is where the trap tightens, not through force, but through comfort, slow, subtle, almost invisible. Every time Marcos earns more, his baseline quietly resets. What once felt like luxury becomes normal. The promotion arrives, the apartment upgrades, the car improves, the lifestyle adjusts without discussion. Nothing feels reckless. Each decision feels earned, justified, reasonable. I work hard, I deserve this, becomes the default logic. But comfort has a hidden cost. It raises the minimum required to feel okay and lowers tolerance for stepping back. Once Marcos adapts to a certain standard, scaling down feels like failure, even when scaling up never brought freedom. This is how golden handcuffs are built, not in a single decision, but in dozens of small upgrades that feel harmless. Marcos doesn't feel trapped, he feels committed. Mortgages, contracts, expectations lock the door. And the most dangerous part, he starts defending the system, not because it works, but because changing it feels risky. He isn't afraid of losing money, he's afraid of losing identity, the image of success he worked years to build. That fear keeps him running, even when the direction no longer leads anywhere.
Here's the shift almost no high earner makes. They confuse income with wealth, and the difference changes everything. Income is money that depends on your presence. It arrives only if you keep showing up. Miss work, and it stops. Wealth works differently. It continues even when you don't. It buys time, not status. Marcos focuses on income. Raises, bonuses, negotiations, all aimed at increasing the top line. But wealthy individuals focus on structure. What stays, what compounds, what survives absence. They build systems, not paychecks. Think of income as a river. Fast, loud, impressive, and wealth as a reservoir behind a dam. Without the dam, the water rushes past and disappears. Powerful, but temporary. Marcos has a strong river, but no reservoir, so every drought feels terrifying. That's why income feels heavy. Every decision risks the source. Every pause feels dangerous. When survival depends on labor, freedom remains theoretical, and pressure becomes permanent. Wealth removes that pressure, not by earning more, but by decoupling life from effort. This is the advice Marcos hears most often. Just work harder, push a little more. One more promotion fixes everything. But Marcos is already working hard. He is consistent, reliable, always available. Effort is not the missing variable. Working harder inside a broken structure is like accelerating in the wrong direction. More speed, same destination. Each raise feels promising. Then taxes absorb part of it, expenses expand to meet the rest. If Marcos earns 10% more, his lifestyle quietly consumes 9%, leaving almost nothing behind. Effort has diminishing returns, especially when the system taxes success and rewards consumption. This is not laziness, it's over-leverage, too much weight resting on one income stream. High performers don't burn out from weakness, they burn out from carrying everything alone. No redundancy, no margin, no safety net. Marcos doesn't need more productivity, he needs a different equation, one where effort is optional, not mandatory. Until that changes, working harder only tightens the trap and delays the realization. Escaping this trap does not require luck, it requires re-engineering the system, and the process is simpler than most people expect. The first step is not earning more, it is seeing clearly. Understanding the true cost of being you. Marcos stops looking at income and starts looking at burn rate, the exact monthly cost of maintaining his life. Housing, transportation, food, obligations. Not emotionally, not defensively,
but cold, mechanical, like an engineer would. Then comes the critical shift, the artificial cap, the decision that changes everything. The next raise does not upgrade his life. It does not improve comfort or status. It creates margin. That margin becomes untouchable. It is not spending money, it is sovereignty capital. Marcos redirects that margin automatically into assets that do not require his presence, systems that grow quietly in the background. Index funds, ownership, equity, cash flow. Nothing flashy, nothing exciting, just structure replacing dependence. Over time, pressure begins to drop, not because life is easier, but because survival no longer depends on constant performance. This is not laziness, it's changing leverage, from labor to structure. At this point, the problem is no longer money, it's identity. And identity is harder to change than habits. Marcos has spent years becoming a high earner, providing, performing, proving his value. That role defines how he sees himself. His confidence comes from reliability. His pride comes from stability. His sense of worth comes from being needed. But that identity comes with a cost. It ties his value to output and his safety to constant motion. To escape the trap, Marcos must be willing to disappoint expectations, not his own, but everyone else's. Driving the older car, saying no to upgrades, choosing invisibility over validation. From the outside, it looks like regression. From the inside, it feels like control. A quiet shift from performance to ownership. This is where most people stop, not because they can't do the math, but because they can't let go of the image. The system rewards appearance, it punishes accumulation, and Marcos must choose which game he is playing. Freedom doesn't announce itself, it builds silently, while others assume nothing has changed. And once this identity shifts, decisions become lighter, fear loses its grip. Marcos no longer runs because he must, he moves because he chooses, and that difference changes everything. Marcos did not escape by earning more, he escaped by seeing differently, by understanding the structure he was inside. The trap was never about discipline, never about motivation or effort. It was about playing the wrong game. High income can build freedom, or it can build a stronger cage. The difference is structure. Most people never notice the cage because it looks like success and feels like responsibility. But once you see it, you can't unsee it, and every decision starts to change. This channel exists for that moment, when effort stops working and architecture becomes necessary. If you want to understand money as a system, not a hustle, not a shortcut, but something you can actually control, subscribe. We break down the structures that quietly shape your financial life and show you how to rebuild them on your terms. Freedom isn't louder, it's lighter, and it starts with clarity.